Good morning. My name is Ron St. Clair. I love this time of year. And one of the favorite things about this time of year are the old Christmas specials that will show up on TV from time to time. One of my favorites is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And we all know the story. It tells the story of a gentleman named Ebenezer Scrooge. And by the end of the movie, we get to witness his transformation as he gets filled with the Christmas spirit on Christmas Eve. He doesn't start out that way, though. Mr. Scrooge is initially approached by those collecting for the poor, and his answer is kind of heartless, kind of cold. He says, "Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?" And those collecting are kind of stunned by that question and say, "But of course." And he says, "Well, then that's where I will give my money, because that is what they do. They take care of the poor. They take care of those in need." And those collecting walked away without any assistance from Ebenezer Scrooge. Now, I don't mean to imply that we are like Scrooge, but we have become a society that often seems to believe that the answer is in giving to charities, and we do a great deal of that. But despite that fact, despite the efforts of all the organizations that are spread around this country, last year there were 643,000 people who experienced homelessness, according to the U.S. News and World Report. An organization named endhomelessness.org reports that 62,000 veterans are homeless. And of the homeless, just under 2 million are children under age 18, and almost half of those children are under the age of 5. So the homeless problem certainly exists all around us. And according to Christian Science Monitor, there are 46 million people living below poverty limits here in the United States. And those are tragic numbers. And certainly, we can donate to our favorite charity. We can suggest raising taxes so governmental agencies can increase their ways of assisting. There's any number of ways that we can reach out to help. But I would suggest to you that that's not always the best answer. Suppose I wanted to water this plant. Well, there's all kinds of ways to do it. But suppose my answer is to do this, to pour it in this container near the plant. Now, many would just scoff at the foolishness of that. But think about it. We know the science. We know what will happen to the water in this container. It will evaporate. It will go into the atmosphere. It will condense eventually. It will form clouds. And then through a chain of meteorological events, that water that was once here will get squeezed out of the clouds and fall to earth. We really don't know where it will land. We hope it would land on this plant. We hope that whatever lands on this plant will be adequate to satisfy its needs. And even if it's not this water, it will be some water. Surely, water will fall on this plant from some source. And the organizations that we donate to some degree are like that. And it's not their fault, it's out of necessity. They have staffs to pay. They have teams of people to do their research, to reach out and find people who are in need of assistance. They do wonderful, great work. But every layer of that bureaucracy means a little less that goes to the people who need the assistance. My challenge to myself, my challenge to you, is to consider ways to reach out. Just after Thanksgiving, we heard the story about a police officer named Larry DePrimo in New York City. He encountered a homeless man on the side of the street. The gentleman he met was without shoes. Now, Officer DePrimo could have done many things. And many of the things he could have done would have been not unlike what Ebenezer Scrooge suggested. He could have taken him to a shelter so he could get a hot meal and have a cot to sleep on that night. He could have given him the address of a facility that might have shoes for him tomorrow morning. But the officer did something unique. The officer reached into his pocket, took money from his own personal accounts, and walked into a shoe store and bought the gentleman a pair of shoes and socks. At least for that night, the man had warm feet. and was in comfort. Now the officer saw the need and responded. With the numbers I've just shared with you, odds are the needs are around you, in your neighborhood, in your community, possibly even in the church families that you'll be with on Sunday morning. I don't mean to suggest that you shouldn't give to the charities. Obviously, they need help. They do wonderful work. I don't disagree with the governmental agencies that try to find ways to reach out and help those who are in need. But let's not let that be a salve to our conscience. Let's not let that be our only answer. Let's us open our own eyes and open our own hearts and try to find those who might be able to use help, and then reach out and give of ourselves and help them. You can't help but be reminded of what Jesus told us when he said, "Whatsoever you do for the least of my brothers, that you do unto me." And this time of year, we can't help but be reminded of the gift that Jesus gave us by coming to this earth and showing us a better way to live. He paid the ultimate price, and he did it by giving of himself. And that's what I would ask of you this Christmas season. Think of that gift. We could never measure up to that gift, but certainly we've been given a wonderful example. So let's find a way to give of ourselves this Christmas season. Let's find a way to help our brother. Let's find a way to help our fellow man. Merry Christmas, everyone.